everybody, welcome back to Top Impressive. And don't worry, our Mesopotamia Timeline series part 6 will be coming out soon, so just stay tuned. But for this video, we're going to be talking about another maritime disaster. A maritime disaster that not many people know about. You see, 66 years ago, the Italian flagship, the SS Andrea Doria, sank after a collision with the MS Stockholm. And it sank in just 11 hours, with a loss of 52 people in total. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And as usual, before we start talking about the sinking of the specific ship, we should tell a little bit about the history of the Andrea Doria. But before we do that, I just want to give a quick note. If you are new to this YouTube channel, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss any new uploads. And also, I'm planning to do a giveaway when we hit 100 subscribers. So if you want a free giveaway, please subscribe to the channel, and maybe you will be entered to win when we do it. We are also planning to do a live stream within the next few days, so make sure you stay tuned to that as well. And with that out of the way, let's start the video. At the end of the Second World War, Italy had lost more than half of their merchant vessels. To rebuild the Italian shipping industry, the Italian line decided to start construction on 2 new ocean liners, not designed to be the largest or fastest vessels in the world, but the most luxurious vessels in the world. Those 2 liners would be named the SS Andrea Doria and her sister, the SS Cristoforo Colombo. The construction on the Andrea Doria began at the Saldo shipyard in Genoa, Italy. Her hull number was known as 918, and on June 16, 1951, her hull was complete and she was launched down the slipway and into the water. When the vessel was completed, she weighed 29,000 tons and was 702 feet long. Then, in 1953, the fitting out process for the vessel was complete, before making her way back to Genoa for her maiden voyage. Her maiden voyage was actually planned for December 14, 1952, but there were some design problems with the vessel that had to be addressed before she could head out on her maiden voyage. Finally, a month later, on January 14, 1953, the Andrea Doria departed Naples for her maiden voyage bound for New York City. In command of Captain Piero Calamai, Andrea Doria's crew little know how big of a welcome she would get on her maiden voyage. On January 23, 1953, Andrea Doria arrived in New York with a massive fanfare for this new revolutionary liner. Over the course of the next few years, the Andrea Doria would continue to operate, and in 1954, her sister, the SS Cristoforo Colombo, officially entered service, allowing the Italian line to finally rebuild the merchant shipping. On July 17, 1956, the Andrea Doria is docked in Genoa, preparing to set sail on her 101st voyage. For Captain Calamai, this was going to be his last voyage aboard the Doria before he was going to be transferred to the Cristoforo Colombo. And it also would be the last voyage for the Andrea Doria. The ship was around 90% booked at this time, and there was a total of 1,134 passengers and 572 crew members. At 11 a.m., the Andrea Doria departed Genoa, heading for Naples, and then New York. On July 25, 1956, a Swedish motor ship called the MS Stockholm departed New York City, bound for her home port, which was Gothenburg, Sweden. At about 12,100 tons, Stockholm is a little less than half the size of the Andrea Doria. One feature that the Stockholm has is that it has a reinforced bow to keep her safe from ice in the North Sea. Just as the Stockholm was leaving, the Andrea Doria was about 200 nautical miles away. That evening, the Andrea Doria also was sailing through a heavy fog that it had been sailing through since that afternoon. However, the crew on the Stockholm don't see any fog, so they don't slow the ship down. At about 10:45 p.m., the Andrea Doria's officers spotted a ship on the radar a few miles away. In an attempt to widen the distance between both vessels, Doria turned hard to port to avoid a collision. However, that was not how the law of the seas works. If two ships are approaching each other head-on, both ships should turn hard to starboard, but the Andrea Doria turned hard to port. As the Stockholm correctly turned hard to starboard. Finally, at 11:09 p.m., both ships were visible from each other, going at about 20 knots each. Captain Calamai orders the Andrea Doria's helm to be turned hard to port to avoid a collision. But at that point, it was too late. At 11:10 p.m., the Stockholm's reinforced bow smashed into the side of the Doria. The Stockholm's bow gets completely smashed by the impact, but also tore a huge hole in the side of the Doria's hull, allowing tons of seawater to find its way inside. But only one watertight compartment out of the 11 watertight compartments the ship had were breached. And the ship could stay afloat with 2 watertight compartments breached. But that was only true if the ship listed no more than 15 degrees. Almost immediately following the collision, the Andrea Doria was already listing at 18 degrees. And also, because of the impact by the collision, 47 people were killed. At about 11:40 p.m., the crew started to prep and launch some of the ship's lifeboats. But the crew realized something terrible. Due to the vessel's very strong list to starboard, the portside lifeboats were unusable. But luckily the Stockholm was nearby, and her crew depicted that the ship was in no danger of sinking, and they were able to ferry passengers between both vessels. The Doria's radio operator started to send out a distress call, which got the attention of some freighters and a French passenger liner known as the SS Ile-de-France. Some of the other vessels who picked up the Doria's distress call started to rescue the survivors once they had arrived. The Ile-de-France had arrived at the wreck site at 2:30 p.m. and began taking on over 800 survivors. On the morning of July 26, 1956, Andrea Doria was already listing at 40 degrees. And luckily, cameramen were able to document the sinking. Just as the ship rolled over onto her starboard side is when the end begins. More water was able to find its way through the ship, which began the final plunge. At 10:15 a.m., 11 hours after the collision, the Andrea Doria sank beneath the waves, 230 miles west from New York City and 52 miles off the coast of Nantucket Island, Massachusetts, signaling the end to Italy's 3-year-old flagship. Alright everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video, and also, if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And the next video on this channel will be part 6 of the RMS Lusitania timeline series.